calling yourself a community that cares.
Oh, but we do care, Nicholas.
It's all about the greater good.
The greater good.
How can this be for the greater good?
The greater good.
Welcome to Moments with Mimi. And today we're going to talk about some subjective history. The request was a subjective look at Hitler. So today we're going to look at Hitler in a subjective way. And you can't really look at Hitler subjectively without looking at the nation itself that he led, because they called him. He was showing them what they were thinking. We're talking about, he was made for a lesson for humanity. Okay? And this was the final contraction push of the baby being born. Okay? Went into the deep contractions with World War I and the final one with World War II. So Hitler was showing us, the things that we believed. That we believed others could be less than human. That some people just need to go die. And, that Jews killed Christ and they need to die. And these kinds of things. All these ugly things culminated in this world war. And Hitler was a big part of that. And, break it down into his story. He was, just a kid, just like any other kid. But he was molded and shaped into being the Hitler that he became. His experiences and everything that happened to him and how he thought about it. So we do know that he was quite a sensitive young man who loved art. He was a creative person, and he presented his art, which, he was nervous about because he grew up in a family that didn't think art was very manly. And it's not going to pay the bills. And, so he really wanted to get into this university, and it was, he didn't make it. And so he blamed the people who judged his work. He felt like he'd been judged and found lacking. Okay? And he took this, and it burned in his heart, and he moved forward. But he had this burning in his heart. And he went and joined the German army and was wounded in World War I. And as he was convalescing, the armistice was signed. And because of what happened, we know that, in that moment, when that picture was going around, was while he was in the hospital. And from the German point of view was the picture of the armistice being signed, and everyone standing outside the train car. And you just know, he was thinking something like that. Wouldn't it be nice if they had signed that over to me? that'd be great. I'd dance in front of that guy, in front of everybody. I wouldn't stand there, I'd dance. That's what he thought when he saw that picture. And he happened to be in the hospital in pain when he was seeing that picture. So from that moment forward, things really started accelerating, and everything was ripe, So he imagined this end, that France would sign themselves over to him in front of the same train car at the same place, Versailles, that he would experience what he perceived they did to him. I'm going to do it to them. Okay? So, tit for tat had to happen. So, the German people were ripe for this because they were blamed. And they were They weren't extraordinarily high reparations, not any different than any other war, really. But they had given their all for this, and so they weren't really in a position to be paying that kind of money. So inflation was eating them up because they were repaying an inflated money. And the people were suffering, great pain and suffering. And it had been, during the war. So they'd had enough. That's enough. And he represents that. And he took their things that they'd been telling themselves for hundreds and hundreds of years, that there was a Jewish problem. And we have to do something about the Jewish problem. Well, the current solution for the Jewish problem was, if you wanted to be a German citizen, you had to become, Protestant and or Catholic. You had to join a church, but Christian. You had to be a Christian. So you join the Christians, and then you can have the rights and privileges of a German citizen and become a German citizen. So many did that, but a lot of them didn't. So it was a Jewish problem. Okay, and he stepped up saying, I have the final solution. Which is great. We can get rid of the Christ killers. If they're not going to join in, we got to kill them. Okay, this has been going on forever. Okay, and so, that's what they thought. It was a good intention. Here's the road to hell, unraveling, right before you. Look, and people were joining in with them, thinking it's for the greater good, even though they loved their butcher who was a Jew, or they loved their doctor who was a Jew, or they loved their professor who was a Jew. You can take them all, but don't take him. No, he's got to go too. He's a Jew. Well, it is for the greater good. They really believed this in their hearts. Okay? And this is what the Bible says. What's on your heart, do it with a passion, because you're going to be taught. You're either not thinking right, or yeah, you are. You're either thinking from the heart or you're not. Okay? And it needs to be automatic. So that means your head needs to match the one in your heart. And when you don't, you start getting sick, getting ill, because you're thinking with objective thinking, and that's wrong. You're looking the wrong way. You're doing the wrong. That's where that fear, that doubt, that guilt, that pain and suffering. And Hitler did. He really, really did. So if you step back and look at it, basically everything fell into his lap. He would go into the mountains and go within. He would find his time to go be with his God. And he's telling him, go do this, go do that. Take over these people. Do this, take that opportunity, grab that. Now you're in charge. Within 15 years of him being in the hospital, hurt, he was in charge of the country, and all of Europe had fallen into his lap. And he had gotten that sign surrendered to him in front of that train car at Versailles. It's complete. This is the law of liberty. Okay? He did that to feel better. He was in a pickle as far as he was concerned. He thought they, pooped all over him. Several times he was sick of it. That's enough of this. You're the Christ killers. You gotta go. And he felt that strongly in his heart. So here's your road of good intentions, paving the road to hell. So if you think others are subhuman, you're the subhuman. Okay? You're the one who thinks that. And once it was complete, mission complete, Now your thoughts and beliefs start taking over, because that's what's wrapped around your heart. The whole time you were doing this, it was used. It's being used to show you what you think and believe is being used to show you. Okay? If you do this to one, you do it to all. That means you too. Okay? And that's why it's so sad when you see these beautiful white young people trashing white people, and they're trashing themselves. They act like they're not. Now, you're not saved because you joined in with them. You're damned. World War II shows you that. So Hitler, did see people as there's the good people, the German people, strong people, and then there's the subhumans, the Jews, the Ukrainians, the Yugoslavians. Well, you use them, but they're not really people. Italy's close enough. Japan, and I don't know, those guys, they're even a little weird for us, okay? But because they hung out with the Japanese, they were their, allies. And the Japanese just didn't see anybody as people. They're all resources. Okay? They did. In the most horrible way, Nanking, was just the culmination of our belief in people are nothing. That's where it culminated, in the rape of Nanking. Now, some people will say, no, you killed all these people. No, that was over many, many moons, in 6 weeks. And you can, in 6 weeks, kill over 300,000 people, men, women, and children, without even blinking an eye. Okay? Yeah. That's the culmination. Okay? In a short period of time, a huge mass murder. That's that culmination. But anyways, getting off topic. Anyways, Hitler, his wish was fulfilled. So now the things he believed that were wrapped around his heart really started kicking in. And he started having a lot of pain and suffering, Parkinson's disease, drug addict, and was getting more and more drugs. He, felt like he was married to Germany, so he really couldn't get married, but he had this woman that he did love, and back and forth, he felt like he was doing good. Everybody is judging him. His generals turn on him and judge him. This is how he saw it. Everybody's judging me. So then they began to judge him. Even the ones like Goebbels and Speer, who had been behind him the whole way, started to have a change of mind. Donuts, and started trying to turn the ship back around. And they couldn't do it. This was his ship. They had joined it. You can bail. You can jump ship, which is what ended up happening, or die, which is what ended up happening, or bailing ship, and he withered, and he really became the shell of a man. It ate him up 6 ways to Sunday, and he killed himself. And, frankly, my dear, he didn't give a damn what the rest of you did. I'm killing myself. Fuck y'all. He wasn't going to pay because he'd already paid. What kind of life is that? He'd stopped going within. He would go up into the mountains and worry. And worry and worry some more. When he finally did get to sleep, nobody wanted to wake him up. Even if the most horrible things were happening, which is what happened, D-Day. Nobody wanted to wake him up. And nobody could do anything until they woke him up and got orders from him, because that's the way he had set it up, because he'd was in fear and doubt and thought everybody was out to get him and hurt him. You know, because he was hurting others. And even though there were attempts upon his life, it didn't work because he wasn't through with his mission. He was there for a purpose. Okay? And if you step back and really look at it, the German people asked for this. Okay? And even in the last days of the war, when they knew they had lost, they would release prisoners and then chase them down if they were Jewish and kill them, but let the other prisoners go. If they were Russians, they let them go. You know, but if they were Jewish, they would still go try to kill them. Okay, this is that on their heart belief. So then, you know, the Nuremberg trials come, and they're told then, you know, by the voice of God, the Word of God, you know, no, it's not okay to say, you know, I was following orders. No. You're a human being. You're no different than anybody else in this room. And if I tell you go kill that old woman, you have the right and the responsibility to tell me no. You know, if I kill you for it, don't worry about it. Your maker will make it good. But you don't do that. Okay, you don't do that. That's what went down. So Hitler was a great lesson for humanity. You know, I wouldn't want to be in his shoes and play that role. You know, I forgive him for that, for showing us that, but bless him for showing us that, so we changed. You know, have we figured it all out yet? Well, no. That's when the baby got born. Then the baby started growing up. And now the baby has reached maturity. That's what the Star of Bethlehem was. That was, you know, the Son of God looking at God saying Father. And God saying Son. So I hope this helps. Blessings to you. And thank you. Thank you for being here.
I may not be a man of God, Reverend, but I know right, and I know wrong. And I have the good grace to know which is which.